You make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Good evening. Welcome into Greenie Sports Cards Live. That means it must be 7 p.m. Eastern Time here, as we do every Tuesday night, coming to you across multiple platforms on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, and a number of points in between. My name is Jeremy Levine, the man about town here in Cleveland, Ohio. That is the town where we are located, where Greenie Sports Cards is headquartered, just a short bit away in Twinsburg. And we get to do this every Tuesday night, and we've got a really, really special guest for you this evening. There's not going to be a lot of pretense. We're going to get right into it. We have the chance to speak with a former Secret Service agent who was there on that fateful day in November 22nd, 1963, with the Kennedy family. He was the Secret Service agent assigned to Jacqueline Kennedy that day. He's one of two remaining survivors that were present and witnessed the accounts of that day. So we're going to get to talk to Paul Landis, who wrote the book, The Final Witness. Paul will also be joining the Medina County Collectors Fair here in just a short bit away on the 27th of September. And we're going to have a really interesting conversation tonight, both Greenie and I. So we're going to go ahead and welcome Greenie in, and we want to get to it pretty quickly here. Greenie, how you doing this evening?
Hey, Jeremy, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. I can't help but think of Les Levine this evening as well, with How Come Quickie, one of the classics. How come we know about the Secret Service?
Yeah.
Sort of quintessential Quickie, if you don't have an answer to it. So,
right, sure.
As I mentioned, we're going to get to talk to Paul, but who will be at Medina. So we want to touch on that real quick and remind people about the Medina County Collectors Fair that is coming up on September 28th and 29th. And of course, the trade night, the night before on Friday. Talk about this a little bit, where we are and some of the special guests.
Yeah, we're a little over a week out from this event that we do with Operation Fandom, who has a store right there on the square in Medina. But this is a show not like any others that we do, where we combine sports cards and pop culture. You see that we have 6 guests that were actors, actresses in horror films and played a lot of characters that you may not recognize them directly, but you recognize their characters. So they will be there signing autographs. We also have some local wrestlers that will be there with some of their gear and autographs as well. And then, you know, as we're going to talk to Paul Landis coming up, he'll be there with his book, The Final Witness, from that day, 1963. But this show will be like no other, with the sports cards and the Pokemon and the non-sports and comic books, vinyl. We have a Beatles record guy coming, and we have some people that do some 3D printing and some artists. So a little bit of everything will be at this show. And that's like one of the things we like to do is just be unique and different. We have the cosplay as well on Sunday. So Rubber City Cosplay will be there again. They did a fantastic job with the Star Wars cosplay last time. So we'll see what their costume contest is all about this week or next week. I'm sorry, but that would be on Sunday. The Rubber City Cosplay will be doing that.
So last check, the event's over 100 tables of pop culture and sports, and Cody Robinson will be there, of course, better known as Michael Myers on the screen for Halloween. Kevin Ball from Jeepers Creepers. Patricia Peters, who will be on the show next week. We're going to have a chance to talk to Patricia along with Tammy Aaron, who portrayed Pippi Longstocking in The Adventures of Pippi Longstocking. So that'll be an interesting show next week at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Patricia will be with us. We have another ghost face, Matthew Coder, who has appeared also in Brick Mansion's Arrival and Death Wish. Mentioned Tammy Aaron, and of course our guest from last week, Alan Robinson, who portrayed Ghostface in Scream 2, which was a very, very cool and enlightening interview. And of course our guest tonight, Paul Landis, author of The Final Witness. He'll have his books available on site for autographs and a chance to catch up with Paul.
Yeah, I mean, this event is terrific. We look forward to that. In the meantime, this Saturday we'll be at Kirtland, at the Kirtland Senior Center, the show, Jeremy, where everybody knows your name. That'll be 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Kirtland Senior Center this Saturday, the 21st.
I heard Norm tell us that. George Wendt, of course, said everybody should head out to Kirtland this week.
He has told us.
So. Well, very cool. So, like I said, not a lot of pretense, but tonight, not really going to catch up on hobby news at this point because we want to get into it with our guest, Paul Landis, who authored The Final Witness, as I indicated, which offers a unique perspective on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. He was a former Secret Service agent and provides in this book a firsthand account of the events on November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. The book delves into his experiences during and after that event, including some of the struggles that he faced and the trauma, and his decision to come out some 60 years later and talk about the events of that day. The narrative challenges some aspects of the official account, adding some new dimension to the conversation, but a really, really interesting read and a chance to talk to Paul this evening. The one sort of pretext here is, as always, we encourage your engagement in the discussion. You can add in the comment section on any of the platforms that you are watching. However, respectfully, we're not going to get into any conspiracy theories tonight or questions around conspiracy theories, nor do we intend to put Paul in a position that may compromise the agency, any of his former staff, employees, or current employees. But beyond that, if it's in the book, we'll have a chance to talk about it, and really interested to hear a bit of his history. So without further ado, let's welcome in Mr. Paul Landis.
Good evening, Paul.
How are you? So,
doing well. We're doing well. How are you?
I'm good. This is a first for me, so I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah. Really, it's a kind of a first for us too, because normally we have athletes or sports writers or sports collectibles in there, but I had a chance to meet you because you've known my dad for some years, and when I reached out to you and I said, we're having this show that's different than sports, we thought, this would be great. You wrote a book about your events of that night and your job and the position that you held. And I thought this would be a great place for you to bring that book out. And there'll be a lot of people at this event, and, they deserve a chance to get to meet you and buy your book and get your signature as well. So it's a collectible, just like what we do. So
at this point, maybe I'm a collectible too. So.
A national treasure, Paul, a national treasure.
So, Paul, there's been, in my lifetime, in Greenie's lifetime, there's two signature events that really altered the course of American history and world history. One, we just had the anniversary of 9/11. The coronavirus pandemic is another that really changed life before and after those events. There's a clear distinction of life before and after. For those of us who were not alive when Kennedy served as president, can you talk a little bit about the before, the America before, and sort of the vibe of the country and the feelings, and then we'll segue into what that looks like after.
Well, I thought the country was in pretty good shape before the assassination. People didn't pick on each other like they seem to do now. There's not a lot of anger. As far as the Kennedys were concerned, we had the young people of that generation were interested in the Peace Corps, and it was good times. It was happy times. After the assassination, I think the world kind of changed. Maybe it was coincidental, but all of a sudden, I don't know, there were a lot of uprisings, and I don't know how to describe it. It just was a whole different feeling for the country. I don't know what else to really say about that. Life was good growing up, so I was fortunate. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of growing up, in your life, you were in Bowling Green, Ohio, where your dad was a basketball coach. So sports played a little bit of a role in your life till then you moved down to Worthington, right? And I know you were telling me stories about Paul Brown, and maybe you can share a little bit of those.
Well, coaching seems to have their own fraternity. All the coaches seem to keep in touch. My father coached basketball. He was head coach at Bowling Green, and he was assistant football coach. So he knew and kind of followed Paul Brown when he was at Massillon, and he took me one of my first early football games. Paul Brown was back. He was he was on leave, I think, from the military, and they gave him a tribute at halftime. My dad made sure that I saw him and that I was there. We followed the Browns when they were first originated or formed, and I just remember in the 40s, late 40s, there were on Sunday mornings we gather around the radio in the living room and we just listen intently to them. So I was a Browns fan really from day one when they were first formed. And they were pretty good then too. They won a lot of championships early. And I kind of stood by them ever since. A little more difficult these days with what's going on. But,
yeah. So I mean, sports plays a lot of roles in a lot of people's lives, and you had that background with your dad and being the coach, and you grew up, and then something somehow motivated you to join the Secret Service. What was that?
Well, after I graduated from Ohio Wesleyan, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a Bachelor of Arts degree, major in geology, and I had no idea I needed something exciting, something interesting, and I, I, I was living at home. I had to join the draft, or I wanted to avoid being drafted at that time. So I joined the Ohio Air National Guard. I spent summer touring the West with a fellow geology major. Spent my basic training with the Air National Guard. I came home, hitchhiked to Pasadena in 1958 for the Rose Bowl. Came home, got a part-time job in a men's clothing store. And one day, Bob Foster, who I had known since day one in Worthington, he walked into the store. He had been in my sister's class and graduated from Worthington High School in 1948. And he walked in the store. He was, at that time, he was a Secret Service agent, and he was on President Eisenhower's protective detail. And he was talking about Secret Service. And I mean, it just clicked. He said, "There's what I want to do. I've got to do that." I wanted to serve the country, and I couldn't think of a better way to do it. I wanted to travel, the adventure, and that was the beginning of my short life in the Secret Service.
Yeah. You were assigned to First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. What was your relationship like with the Kennedy family, particularly her, who you were assigned to?
Well, the Kennedys were very friendly with the Secret Service agents. All the agents that were on the details with them, they knew all the agents' names. I mean, there was a barrier there that you didn't cross, but I found them to be very, very friendly. What impressed me my first day when I was in the White House and I saw President Kennedy, I was stationed at the main entrance to the mansion. And this was an 8-to-4 shift. And I saw the president walking from the Oval Office to towards the main mansion. He was talking to somebody, and he wasn't really paying much attention. I opened the door for them and said, "Good morning, Mr. President." He kind of nodded his head and went through. I didn't think much more of it at that time. The next day, he came down from the mansion. He was going to the Oval Office. And again, he was approaching the door. He was alone. And I said, "Good morning, Mr. President." And he said, "Good morning, Mr. Landis." So that just blew me away. The first day, never knew. First of all, I looked very young for my age, and he probably wondered who this kid was that they were putting in charge there. But that impressed me immensely. And he was like that with all agents, everybody that was there. So it was that kind of relationship. Mrs. Kennedy was the same. It was very casual, very casual. That's about all I can really say. They were a pleasure to deal with.
How old were you when you were first assigned to her?
Oh, let's see. I joined the Secret Service on October 5th, 1959. So this I would have been. I was with the Eisenhower grandchildren through 1961, and so let's see, 1935, 61. So
Got
20, 25 maybe. So at that time too, as far as I knew, I was the youngest Secret Service agent on protection.
Hmm.
I lost sound.
You know,
That leads a little bit into my next question, Paul. But for the seminal events in Dallas, which is really unavoidably a defining moment of anyone's career that was a part of that. Are there any other anecdotes or moments that stand out from the Secret Service and kind of that before period? How would your career would have been defined but for that fateful day in Dallas?
Well, that day, kind of looking back, that ended my career in the Secret Service. I heard the three shots. I witnessed the president's head explode on the third shot, and I ducked as we drove through the blood and that was in the air, and I couldn't get over that for several years. I played like a tape over and over in my head. I was not familiar. Didn't know anything about stress disorders, and I don't think the country even knew anything then. So I shut down. I stayed with Mrs. Kennedy for 6 months after the assassination. I gave myself 6 months. I said, if nightmares, I kept seeing the president's head explode over and over. It was like a tape loop. And after 6 months, the nightmares were still there. And I thought if I left the Secret Service, they'd go away. I also, my self-image was deteriorating at that point, and I didn't think I really was qualified to be a Secret Service agent. So I left thinking I'd leave all that behind, but I carried the baggage with me. And I mean, at just some point years later, it disappeared. But I never read anything about the assassination. Had the Warren Commission. I was never interviewed by the Warren Commission or anybody. And I just kind of faded into the background, and that was fine with me. I didn't want to talk about anything. So I'd been there. I knew what happened. So that's
in your book, I mean, you talk about how it affected your mental health and the leaving of the Secret Service. It took you like almost 60 years to really talk about it. Like the 50th anniversary of the assassination happened, and you finally began to speak a little bit publicly. What really caused that for you? Like, what were some of the reasons that you decided, it's about time I get this off my chest?
Okay. Well, I knew a little bit about what they were writing about the magic bullet. I didn't realize that this magic bullet had done all the damage and done what the conspiracy theorists and the Warren Commission had said. I volunteered with the Shaker Heights Police Department as a citizen, and one day I was there doing a bicycle auction, and the chief came out and handed me a book that he said a friend sent to him, and he thought I'd be interested in reading it. And it was 6 Seconds in Dallas by Hosea Thompson. And I took the book home, Sat on my nightstand for about 3 months. Finally, I decided, Paul, it's time to start reading about stuff and see what was going on. And I'm reading through the book and saying, oh, this is a pretty good, accurate record of what I remembered happening. And then I remember page 146, and they had a picture of this bullet that they had claimed came from Governor Connolly's stretcher. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. That's my bullet. That's a bullet that I found in the president's limo and took into Parkland and placed on President Kennedy's during his stretcher in there. And that got me to thinking, hey, the truth needs to be out there. And the next 10 years, really, writing the book, getting your thoughts down, the worries I've had that maybe they're going to try to squelch this info, that they don't want it out there. The whole process of writing a book, doing a presentation, finding an agent, and the agent finding a publisher just led to an additional 10 years there. And I guess that's just the natural process of the publishing business. So
I know that you had some conversations with my dad, back at the Valley's locker room about that.
Yeah, your dad and I both worked out at Valley's in Beechwood, and your dad asked me one day if I'd be willing to do a radio interview for the radio station that he worked for, and I agreed. And that was my first and only interview over the telephone. And after that, I said I would never do another one again without knowing the people I'm talking to. So,
and here we are.
And then it was your dad was, long story short, things going on. Your dad asked me to talk at another gathering, and here we are.
Yeah.
You
It
mentioned
took a couple years to get that road.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You mentioned the Warren Commission, Paul. I want to set the stage a little bit on what the history books tell us. The official narrative of President John F. Kennedy's assassination is primarily based on the findings of the Warren Commission, which was established by President Johnson to investigate the events of November 22nd, 1963. And a couple of those key points that came out of that we sort of have learned throughout history is that it was a lone gunman. They concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, that he fired 3 shots that you referenced from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. The single bullet theory was a part of their findings, that one of the shots posits that a single bullet struck both President Kennedy and Texas Governor John Connolly, which caused multiple wounds. They talk about Oswald's background as a former Marine who had a history of pro-communist and anti-American sentiments. They touch on Jack Ruby, who 2 days after the assassination shot and killed Oswald. They also determined that to be an independent act with no evidence of a broader conspiracy. And in total, they said there is no conspiracy, that the Warren Commission found no credible evidence and concluded that Oswald acted alone. You referenced earlier that despite being a key witness, you were never called to testify before the Warren Commission. Do you feel that your testimony may have changed any element of that official narrative, or they got it right for the most part?
That's hard. That's hard for me to answer. It would not be fair to the Warren Commission. I never read their report till 2017. I never read anything about all the conspiracy theories and that going on. In my book, I just tell what I saw, what I heard, and what I did. I don't draw any conclusions about that. That's up to other experts to figure out. I'm really not. I don't think I'm in a position to answer that directly.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So back to the mental health part, and people go through different traumas, and you wrote about it in your book. I mean, do you have advice for people that are going through, a mental health thing, or, it took you 50 years to really speak out about what you saw. I mean, you kept that in for so long. I mean, do you have advice for people?
Well, I thought I was over everything until after I finished writing the book. And when I wrote the end, which I knew it wasn't the end of the book, I just sat and tears started streaming down my cheeks. And I sat and cried for about 10 minutes, just staring at my computer screen. And that's when I realized I thought I'd been over everything. And that just proved to me what I had buried and somehow was not able to talk about. I think my advice is, every individual's different, but the sooner somebody can talk to a therapist or someone after a stressful incident. A divorce can be stressful. I've had veterans from the not Korean wars, the Vietnam, talk to me and thank me for sharing my story. It's just important. I think as soon as they can, talk to somebody and have counseling to help them. I think I was very fortunate to get through all the years I did, and just by what helped me was by not sharing. And I just knew there was a bunch of other stuff out there, and I knew what I had seen and heard. Every individual is different, but I urge anybody out there that if they're having some sort of issue, you got to talk to somebody about it. I couldn't be talking like this if I hadn't finally broken my silence. So I avoided talking about Secret Service I didn't even want to tell people I was an agent. And I did that for over 45 years. And since I've come forward and everything, I am very comfortable talking about the assassination, what I saw, what I did. But there was a long time there before I could do that.
I was at one of your presentations and heard you give the whole details and the accounts of it. And I know, some of the things that you said in there, and people need to read the book to really, go step by step through it. You were behind, in Jackie's car. And I know some of the things that you said, like you heard and saw, like in the initial impact and things that happened, like what happened in that really moment that you, Paul Landis, had to do?
Well, I heard the first shot. I knew it came from over my right shoulder. I turned, I looked at President's limousine. President Kennedy was leaning to his left and he had his arms up. I thought he was turning to see where the noise came from. I didn't realize at that time that he'd been hit, and I didn't know that until later. Or it was confirmed until later. And just a few seconds later, I heard his second shot. I saw no movement or activity, any indication that second shot had hit anybody. It was later I learned that that shot must have hit, at least my assumption was that had hit Governor Connolly. Right after the second shot, I heard the third shot, and that's when the president's head exploded, and just the sky filled with the blood and mist and pieces of flesh. And I ducked as we drove through it so I wouldn't get spread. And then we raced to Parkland. When we got to Parkland was when I jumped out of the follow-up car, raced up to the limousine, tried to help Mrs. Kennedy out. She refused, and Clint Hill and I entered the back area, back seat area, and when Mrs. Kennedy stood up, I saw this bullet on the back seat. I didn't, as I said, I took that into the hospital, put it next to Kennedy's feet in trauma room 1, and I didn't think anything else about it. When I said, when I exited, I followed Mrs. Kennedy out of the trauma room, and it was a big relief to me at that time. I said, put the bullet. I had made a decision to put that bullet with the president's body, figuring they would find it when they did an autopsy. I felt like I'd made the right decision, and this huge weight at that time too was lifted, and I didn't think anything else about it. And then all the conspiracy to talk about the magic bullet, I didn't pay any attention to all that. And it wasn't until I read Hosea Thompson's books, 60 Seconds in Dallas, or 6 Seconds in Dallas, that I realized what had happened. I didn't know about all this behind the scenes stuff until 45 years after the fact. So it would have helped me earlier, and I'm sure it would have helped the investigation if I had said something. But the moments after that happened and the rest of that whole weekend were just nothing but confusion and no.
Yeah, I mean, how could it not be confusion?
Yeah, we talk, we talk about history and these things. This happened, as we said before. Both Greenie and I were born. We see it in news clippings and videos and stories that are told, and people often forget there are real humans behind this, and all the training in the world and all the service that you went through. You're still a human being in that moment and in that experience, and it stands to reason that there's a blur above that day and the actions. And I have to imagine that the training took over at some point, that day, those moments. But at some point reality sets in, and you touched on, you gave yourself 6 months of service. What was the transition after that? You made the decision to leave the service. How did you assimilate back, and what happens in the next 6 months after that, and 2 years and 5 years after that in Paul Landis's life?
Oh man, that could take up the whole program trying to explain that.
We have time.
I went in the real estate business on Cape Cod. I had the help of a lovely lady there, the Christmas Higgins, that we used to rent our cottages from when we were there. And when Mark Shaw, who was a Kennedy photographer during President Kennedy's first campaign, I got to know him. He called, invited me to New York to be a hand model in some television commercials. And I went to New York for a week, and it was pretty good money at that time. To be paid was more than I was making in real estate. And after a week, Mark hired me. His company ended up going bankrupt. I formed my own television production company with Cliff Wolf, who was Mark's assistant. And I did that for almost 10 years. And I didn't like New York, and I was commuting at that point. I had a 5-year-old daughter, Jennifer, and my ex-wife was from Cleveland area, and I was an Ohio boy, and Ohio was looking a lot better than New York City at the time. So I came back, worked in the father that my stepfather's business, and my father-in-law's business for a while. And that just didn't work out. On my own house painting business, and I just kind of stumbled through life, and anything I could do to make a living at that point. So,
Yeah.
And here I am. So.
Yeah, but that's a full life, and the things that you went through that day brought you to where you are now. We're gonna have next weekend. You're gonna have your book. Do you have the book next to you that we can show people the book there?
Well, you got a picture of it there, but
yeah. But yeah, the final witness. So, yeah, that book tells a lot more than what we delved into, because we didn't want to read the entire book here. But I encourage a lot of people to get this book from you, get it signed from you, and go home and read it. I mean, there's, no more firsthand account than you, Paul, of being as close to what happened that night. So, we appreciate you breaking that silence and writing that book, so that all us history buffs get a chance to read something like that.
Well, thank you very much. I hope it does something to help solve the part of the mystery out there and eliminate some of these conspiracy theories. So,
yeah. So that
more truth than what went on, and I think that's the important thing. That, I wrote the book based on my memo books that I kept during my time in the service. So there was nothing I read. I avoided reading so that it wouldn't distort my approach. So.
Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us this evening, for planning to join us at the Medina County Collectors Fair, for sharing your insight. Paul, we'll leave with this. What message do you hope that readers take away from your book, The Final Witness?
Well, I couple of things. It's about the traumatic stress. I hope people that go through that get counseling early, now that we understand a little more about what goes on. And basically, let's do what we can and get the information out there of what really happened. And no cover up. I hope they reopen the investigation and the assassination. So that's pretty much it.
So we're hoping a lot of people come out and meet you and talk to you about this. If people that don't live in Ohio want to buy your book, they can find that on Amazon, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So they can just search Paul Landis, The Final Witness on Amazon, and they can find your book there.
Yeah. Probably if they Google or go just Paul Landis, you'll see my book. You'll also see probably several IA copies listed there. So be sure to look for, the black cover with the red print. That'll be the actual authentic one.
Well, fantastic. Well, Paul, again, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Very interesting to see your presentation and also to read your book. So we'll talk more about that next week when we see you at the Medina County Collectors Fair.
Thank you very much. Looking forward. All right. You have a good rest of the evening.
You too.
You too. Thanks, you, Paul. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot you can say that. I mean, Paul's a very interesting guy, and I've had a chance to meet him. And the book is something else. And we weren't there, obviously. Our parents have told us quite a bit about it, and we've seen the news and we've seen movies, but there's nothing like firsthand experience.
Yeah, we know what our parents have told us. The times prior to November 22nd of that year, they called it Camelot. They compared it to Camelot. After that date, it was a different world. And kind of my initial thoughts were we've had that experience twice where there was a before the world as we knew it, and then something happens, and sort of that flashbulb moment that people remember where they were and what happened, and the world is different from then on. And yeah, just an amazing part of American history. It is a real honor to have the opportunity to talk to Paul Landis tonight and get a little bit of insight of something that happened that we could only read about in the history books. So make sure you come out to the Medina County Collectors Fair and spend some time with Paul and our other guests. I said it last week, Greenie, you made the decision to put Michael Myers and Catwoman and Jeepers Creepers and Ghostface in the same room with Pippi Longstocking and 100+ tables worth of pop culture stuff. It's going to be a really interesting scene.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait. The show in May was terrific. This one, while it's the same name and same concept, it's different because we have different guests there. We have a lot of different vendors as well. So people will be able to check out a ton of different things from the sports. I know, like over the last couple of days, a couple booths that do 3D printing are coming, and they, some of the things that they make with those 3D printers are pretty cool. With not only just card stands, but just different items. So we're going to have that. We have some new Pokemon dealers that are coming. We mentioned the Beatles guy earlier. If you're a Beatles collector, this guy's got some really cool old records, hard to find stuff. But the sports cards there will be there as well. There's some comic books. Then the cosplay on Sunday. To see all the people dress up and the amount of work that they do to make themselves look like these characters is pretty second to none. Or that's an art in itself.
Absolutely. It's a really cool scene. It is free registration through Rubber City Cosplay. That was one of my favorite elements of the spring show is just the characters walking around, the spirit, the vibe of the place. People were having a good time. It was a big buying show too. So the dealers did very well in the spring, and what a cool experience when as event producers, when you create those atmosphere of commerce and people come and they engage and they find something that they were looking for, or bought something they didn't realize they were looking for and kind of fell in love with, and then they get to interact and engage with celebrities, personalities, authors in this case, history. Um, yeah, I think fundamentally this stuff, the hobby, the collectors, it comes down to nostalgia and people being able to touch and feel history and engage in history. If you can kind of create that experience, then I think you're doing it right.
Yeah, no doubt. And there'll be a lot of that there for people to talk to. Kenny Rhoda will be there on Saturday hanging out. He's in Akron now at WHBC, but has been around Northeast Ohio for a lot of years covering sports. So he'll be there to talk and hang out with people, and he loves to do that. I mean, if you know Kenny, he loves to talk. So that's just another element that'll be there on Saturday for everybody to see and talk to.
There'll be some wrestlers showing up. There'll be some other surprises that I'm not sure we can talk about yet, but other personalities and names that will be there. You can see the note below. Next week on the show, we will have Patricia Peters and Tammy Aaron, who played Pippi Longstocking. And Patricia has got a ton of experience and credits as well. Looking forward to talking to her. She was Michelle Pfeiffer's stunt double and body double in Catwoman, as Catwoman in Batman Returns. And she has other credits in Army of Darkness and a lot of other work behind the scenes. So if it's anything like our conversation with Alan Robinson last week, that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. And so at the show in Medina, what's going to be really cool is we're going to open some packs of the Batman cards with Patricia. And she is card number 45 in the set. While you can't see anybody's face, it is a picture of the Catwoman climbing, and that is Patricia on the card. So that's going to be cool to try to hit her card, and we'll have her sign that. Hopefully that we hit one, kind of like we did with Vanessa Marshall last May when we opened the Star Wars cards and hit some Harris and Doulas, and she signed a couple for us that we got slabbed authenticated because they were authentic. She signed them right there in front of us, and so those are sitting in our office. So hopefully we hit a card of Patricia at the show.
Yeah, that was so cool because we had hoped that would happen, but the reaction was genuine when she legitimately hit a Harris Ndula card, her character. So that, and then hit another one subsequently as well after that. So lots of stuff going on in Medina. And then lots of stuff still to come tonight. Of course, the live auction will be coming up at 9:00 on eBay. You'll want to join Alex for that. As always, he has tons of cards. He's got baseball, basketball, football. The show really is most effective when the audience tells them where to go and what to auction next, along with packs and opening up some of those pop culture packs. So make sure you join Alex over on eBay. Look for the Greenie banner, click on that, and get going with him. Greenie, all auctions start at $2, I believe, and
Yep.
Shipping is combined.
Yep, $4.99, as many items as you want to win tonight. So we'll put that in the comments, the link that people can go right to our eBay page. So yeah, that'll happen tonight. This Saturday we'll be in Kirtland for the Kirtland Card Show. And then the following week, Medina. So that Friday night is going to be, it's a free trade night. So anybody can come hang out with us 7 to 10 p.m. You can bring a box of cards. You can pick a table, any table. It's going to be kind of free reign that Friday night to come hang out with us and our friends, twins and friends. So not to be confused. So twins and friends and our friends at the ball card store, they are sponsoring that event, and they will be there, and they'll have a full display Friday, Saturday, and Sunday right up in the front. And we can't thank them enough for coming up from like lower down in Ohio. It's like a 3-hour drive from where they live to come up and hang out with us that weekend. So, but good guys that we've met over the course of the last few years. They've been coming to shows, buying and selling, and it's the first time that they're going to be set up at a show in Northeast Ohio. So that'll be great, and people enjoy them. They're fun guys and twins because they are twins. So Noah and Marcus, and we can't thank them enough. So the Friday night, 7 to 10 p.m. free trade night, so anybody can come, put cards out for sale that night and hang out with us, and then the show will really be open Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for everybody else. So yeah, we look forward to that.
Yeah, conveniently located. It is at the Medina County Fairgrounds within that community center building. Parking is on site. That is free. Kids 10 and under are free. Really accessible show. And just off the Medina Square there, which I know very well. It's a really magnificent area, kind of that Norman Rockwell historic vibe on the square. Of course, Operation Fandom, partners in the show, have one of their 3 locations is on the square. So we encourage people to make a day of it. Come on out to the Medina County Collectors Fair, spend some time in Medina, in and around there. You've got Castle Noel, which is really an amazing experience unto itself as a museum. Grab some coffee at Cool Beans, check out the square, kind of the historic vibe and all the shops there. So Medina is a great town, great partners in this. So I'm looking forward to that show again, because it's just a wild scene of sports cards and pop culture and people walking around in costume. And, with Paul's presence there, we've got some living history and it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it will. So again, next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, September 27th through the 29th. And then after that, we'll head in towards the end of the year with a couple more shows, Kirtland and Broadview Heights. And then we have a couple announcements for later on after this show of what we're going to be doing in 2025. Jeremy, we had a good conversation last night with a venue that we look forward to bringing something different to, and we'll kind of leave people wondering what that's going to be. But when we're ready to announce it, that's going to be something different and something new and something that nobody would think to like. If we're going to put a show on somewhere, I don't think that this place would be the place that anybody thought.
Well, that's a good tease. That is a good tease.
Yeah.
Well, we got a full weekend of football coming back up. The Browns gave us a reprieve with a win. They squeaked one out. You're catching a game in Happy Valley, I believe, this weekend, and we've got the Browns back on Sunday.
It's as a Kent State fan, it's tough. 71-0 last week, but we go for the memories, maybe not for the final score. But it's fun. It's always fun to watch the team the college that you went to, whether they win or lose. And we lose, but that's okay. We're going to have fun and we're going to cheer them on. I went down to Kent Sportswear and bought a couple T-shirts yesterday, so I'll wear them probably in Happy Valley, and people won't be threatened by Kent State there. So they'll give us our due diligence or whatever and justice. And either way, we look forward to it.
We just hope both teams have fun and the attendees have fun. So
that's right.
Travel safe. Have a great weekend. And as always, it's a pleasure getting to do this with you every week, every Tuesday. We're here 7 p.m. East Coast time every Tuesday. Our thanks to Haley behind the board running production for us. Our thanks to guest Paul Landis tonight who joined us. Make sure you check out his book, The Final Witness. If you can't get it at Medina County, which we recommend because you can get it signed personally, head to Amazon, check it out. And our thanks to Greenie and the Greenie team for letting us do this every week.
Yeah, thanks most of all for people for watching. So we appreciate it, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Check out the socials. Make sure you find us Greenie Sports Cards on Twitter, the X, on Facebook, on Instagram, and then GreenieSportsCards.com. That's also where you can buy tickets to the Medina County Collectors Fair. Make sure you get those in advance. There's also some VIP advance opportunities there. So check out all the details on GreenieSportsCards.com for all the upcoming shows, including Kirtland, Medina County Collectors Fair, and then Broadview Heights following that. Greenie, thank you as always. We'll see you on the other side.
Have a good night, everybody.